In 1996, former executive director of NewTV Paul Berg spoke with Newton News' anchor John Frassica about NewTV and its needs to continue providing access to all of Newton.
The 1996 annual membership meeting of the Newton Cable Access Corporation is now in session.
NewTV faces an uncertain future in a world of rapidly changing technology. At its annual meeting, Newton's local cable access channel elected new board members and changed its name. But with a boom in programming and facility use, some cheerfully called NewTV a victim of its own success.
For the first half of the fiscal year, July through December, NewTV spent $161,000 in actual expense dollars to deliver $311,000 worth of services and equipment without cost to NewTV users. And this dollar value is a 485% increase over the previous year's services provided.
NewTV provides training, equipment, and channel time to the Newton community. Over 350 active volunteer producers make up this independent, nonprofit, membership-based corporation.
Our primary mission is to provide an electronic forum for the free exchange of information and ideas which reflect the talents, skills, interests, concerns, and diversity of the Newton community.
NewTV members approved annual goals like increasing the number of public, educational, and governmental producers. The channel hopes to increase its position as a key player in the local use of new technologies, like high-speed internet access.
Our challenge: how to turn these technologies into tools for creating dialogue and enhancing our sense of community.
Right now, Continental Cablevision is required by federal law to fund NewTV, but those funds may run out in 5 years. The recently passed Telecommunications Act does not clearly state that cable companies will have to pay the operating expenses of local cable access channels after the year 2001.
We think that the language of the new law protects our ability to carry on, but we're not yet certain.
Keynote speaker David Leroff spoke about the importance of local media in creating community.
Despite the ever-growing abundance of programs and services which the commercial media will bring us, it's fair to observe that we will also need community-based media organizations which address us primarily as citizens and not primarily as consumers, whose bottom line is measured principally in service to the community and not in quarterly financial statements.
Because of its success in bringing local events to cable television, NewTV launched a second channel. The organizational name was also changed to meet the future of technological change. Newton Cable Access Corporation became the Newton Communications Access Center. NewTV's Paul Berg summed up the evening.
If you believe, as I do, that NewTV is an important community resource which ought to be supported and sustained, then I ask you to do 2 simple things on our behalf. Tell a friend, and number 2, bring me ideas for how we can best tap resources in this community for the broadened base of support we will need.
For Newton News, this is Lynn Menegon.
Now, Newton News continues on NewTV 13.
Back again on Newton News. Thank you for joining us. And joining us in the studio right now is Paul Berg, Executive Director of Newton Communications Access Center. And Paul, nice to have you here.
Nice to be here.
Well, Paul, first of all, explain that name change. What's that all about?
Well, you know, as David Leroff told us at our meeting, television and computers and telephones seem to be all coming together. Convergence is what they call it, and communication on this one form of electronic media is going to be something that we're all going to need to learn something about. And NewTV feels that we can play a role in helping people understand this new convergent technology. So,
you had an excellent speech. We were just talking about that too. You did a very good job.
But I think communication is added to our name because that's the business we're in.
Yeah, you were saying that too at the meeting that night, that it's now communications more than just a television.
Right, and in fact in Newton the cable signal is now no longer brought to you exclusively on cable but also by fiber optic So there's a number of different changes that are taking place in technology and the way people use technology.
Paul, another change that has happened, Channel 12 now operating. What will we see on Channel 12?
Yes, we were eligible to receive programming to be able to program Channel 12 as a result of filling up prime time on NewTV 13 with programs produced by people from Newton. So that's happened. We've received access to Channel 12 now, and we'll be carrying some of the longer form programming, the uninterrupted, if you will, coverage of Board of Aldermen meetings, high school sports, things of that type on Channel 12. And kind of program length, half-hour and hour programs will stay with us on Channel 13.
Okay, very interesting. You know, I was looking at an article from the Boston Globe on March 22nd, and you and I were talking about it too,
Yes.
where it talked about a story which stated that, quote, public access TV, a shock to some, anything goes. What did you feel about that article?
Well, what it stated is basically correct, but unfortunately it focused on something that is not the real concern of the community that wants to use this resource. I like to talk about it as if we talk about a library. Public libraries have many books that, for example, some parents may not want their children looking at. There are books, textbooks on human sexuality. There's been controversies about subscriptions to adult magazines, but those things are in our libraries because of the freedom of speech and the freedom of expression. That's what NewTV is about, and those kinds of programs have their place. I would suspect that the community would hope that place would be late in the evening and with some sort of warning so that children could be kept away from it. But those things are necessary in a free society to be allowed, I think. But this community has taken to NewTV for what most public access stations are more important for, and that is to cover community events, to communicate various city department information, to represent various segments of the community who have something to say to their neighbors. And I think that that is more what public access television is about than some of the headline-grabbing controversy that we see.
How do you respond then to something like that? Or how does the board, because it's not just you too, right? It's the board.
Right, and I actually have spoken with the reporter that wrote that story, and she agrees that they've only covered, if you will, the tip of the iceberg, and that they're going to do some more stories in the Globe about some of the good things on public access in the various communities. And she realized that in order to get people's attention, I guess you'd say, the commercial interests have to use a story like that. But she is very committed to doing some more on that subject, so I hope to see that soon.
Hope to see it soon indeed. I know you wanted to talk a little bit about Community Advisory Board, and of course this is something new also. Let's explain this.
The Board of Directors has decided that since this is a community resource that's vital to a number of people already in the community and several organizations, that we wanted to involve more aspects of the community. So the board has decided to put together a community advisory committee composed of people from business, various ethnic groups, various associations in the community, and hoping to get together 3 or 4 times a year. Not a lot of meetings, but a lot of input so that they can look at what we do here and guide us, because the most important thing to know about this channel is that it is a property of the citizens of Newton, who can decide how it gets used and what it's used for.
So if people want to get involved, how should they give you a call?
First Wednesday of every month we have an open house, 6:30 in the evening, and spend about an hour and a half, get the grand tour of the studio, and hear a little bit more about the details of how you get involved here. All of this television equipment that we see around us is free for the use of Newton residents, as is the training program that we have.
And they should just get involved. Can they also call the studios too?
Absolutely.
Okay.
965-7200.
Very good. 965-7200. Paul Berg, thank you very much.
Thanks, John.
All right.